There's definitely an opportunity, obviously, dense Cuban population, dense Hispanic population in South Florida. But I know plenty of people that whether they lived in Miami and then they move out, or they're a Cuban somewhere else throughout the country, that they're waiting for something like this.
Everything Cuban's hot. Even in California, you go to restaurants in California, there's lines outside at La Floridita. Porto's Bakery does over 25 million locations. It's a similar concept, but they're the only ones out there, Yeah. So I think people want a little bit of that Cuban culture, want a little bit of that ethnic influence, as you go into their neighborhoods. I did it to honor the family, my grandparents who started Vicky Bakery and my father. But we also came up with an acronym, Cuban American Original, which I'm your first awesome. Cuban in my family. I'm the first Cuban American generation that was born here. As I said, my father was born in Cuba. So it's like that Miami flavor. How can we keep the tradition, but kind of spice it up with a little Miami flavor,
Mr. Mac. Aha, you, Mr. Mac. Mr. Mac, Mr. Mac.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Stay Tranquilo Podcast. We're here with Tony Cao, one of the founders of CAO Bakery. We're here at the Hollywood location. See the assortment of pastelitos. We got the cafe. We're going to have a great conversation, obviously, around the bakery, the story of CAO, story of Tony as well, born and raised in Miami. So we'll get into a little bit of some Miami talk, but thank you for the time and taking the time to do this.
Happy to be here. Happy to be here and talk.
Hell yeah. So talk before we get into the story of CAO, tell us a little bit about like growing up in Miami. You've been kind of, you were telling me before, a little bit everywhere, Edgewater, Miami Lakes, now back in Miami Lakes again. Talk to us a little bit about what life has been in Miami over the course of your lifetime.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Hialeah, born in Hialeah Hospital. Grew up, went to a private school, Immaculate Conception. Went to HML for high school. Always been in a bakery, grew up in the back of a bakery pretty much, in Hialeah on 49th Street in front of Hialeah High. That was my dad's store, the Vicky Bakery there. Running around the back as a kid, playing with the dough. So we had the play pit in the back when my sister grew up. So we were always part of the bakery business, always part of the culture. But Miami's, it's unique. It's unique in the United States of America. I feel like it's, I wouldn't say it's a part of Cuba, but there's a very strong influence here. It's a very strong culture of having your coffee in the morning, grabbing your croqueticas, and our kids grew up on it. I grew up on it. I'm sure you did as well. So yeah, that's what it's about.
There's a level of nostalgia of just being around a cafe and pastelito y croqueta, right? Like it feels like home every time. And it's funny, my uncle, he lives in Tennessee, but born and raised in Miami. And every time he comes back to Miami, every single day he's going to the bakery to go get croquetas, pastelitos y café con leche and Cuban bread.
Definitely,
like that's because why? He's like, I don't get to do it in Tennessee, so how do I come here? Like, how do I not come here and eat and consume the food? Because it's a part of who you are and part of your identity.
We got some partners, my partner's family actually live in Gainesville.
Okay.
The same thing, they come down, they grab boxes and boxes, and they take it over and they have their neighbors coming over, so it's awesome.
Yeah, so you brought up your father started in the bakery world, but before he got there, I'm guessing he came from Cuba and migrated to the States?
Yeah, my grandfather came when he was very young, when he was 2 years old. Okay. My grandparents came in, I believe, 67 or 66.
Okay.
They started the first Vicky Bakery in 1972. The first one is by the airport, Southeast, Lejeune and Southeast 8th Street, kind of by 36th Street and the airport. And then the second location was my dad's location in front of Hialeah High.
Nice.
But my dad was working with him from 9 years old, probably, building the brand, building Vicky Bakery, what it is, you know?
Yeah.
When I grew up, the same thing. I started working probably at 9, 10 years old, washing pans, washing floors. Then went to the pastries, then went to the desserts. Found a real passion in the desserts. I really like doing the cakes and desserts. I kind of like modernizing them and changing that up when I was in Vicky's. So that was a good experience.
That's cool. And did your grandparents come from any sort of culinary experience that your father was kind of influenced by that?
Yeah, my grandparents met in a bakery in Paradero.
Okay.
I don't remember the name. I think it's the Valencia or something similar to that. But I have a picture, like when you go to the corner back there, there's an old picture of them when they were younger. So They worked in a bakery in Cuba. They came over here. They opened actually 2 different bakeries. One of them burned down by Jackson Hospital before they opened Vicky's. And they opened another one by the Flanagan's, the original Flanagan's in Hialeah.
Wow.
Baradero Bakery. And then they sold that one and then eventually opened the Vicky Bakery on Southeast 8th Street in 1972. So they were always, my grandfather, like when he came here, he worked in bakeries, worked in construction. It's one of those guys that is a jack of all trades. Still lives in the same house by Flanagan's in Hialeah there. He's remodeled the whole house himself. He's done the tile from the cabinets in the kitchen. The other day I went, he kicked the landscapers out. He was doing landscaping outside. I was like, Abuelo, what are you doing? He's like, no, esta gente no sirve. You know, like they don't build them like they used to, you know? Yeah. So I definitely got my work experience from my grandfather, my father.
That's cool.
4 a.m, they're up. At 10 o'clock at night, they were getting home. It was tough. A lot easier now with technology and everything we have,
But I think that's a testament to Cubanos and Hispanics in general, right? They have a different work ethic, and they're like, to your point, they're a jack of all trades because they're so used to doing everything on their own, right? Like they're gonna fix the light bulb, they're gonna change the oil in their car, they're gonna build their business from scratch because like they want to do everything themselves, and it's like almost like this. My grandfather was like this stubborn as hell, but the guy could do everything and anything.
Yeah, same with my grandfather. Those machines in the backyard, they can make machines to make pastries in the backyard. He has like a workshop with metal machines, and it's crazy.
Impressive. That's impressive.
Crazy, yeah.
So let's get into the story of CAO, right? You talk a little bit about your family background, and they started Vicky's Bakery, but now obviously you're here with CAO. It's kind of your passion project and your initiative to start of your own. But talk a little bit about that transition into learning what you learned with your family at Vicky to then obviously starting CAO now.
Definitely. So in 2015, like my family, we all own 2 stores. I own 2 stores of Vicky's. My dad owned 2 stores, and my 2 uncles and their wives own 2 stores. Okay. So then we decided to start doing license agreements and franchising the brand. We got up to about 21 locations, I believe, while I was still there. And in 2015, they made me a partner in Vicky Enterprise. And then, so at that point, I owned 6 Vicky Bakery locations. We were in a path of growth, so we wanted to keep opening locations. Me and my partner, Carlos De Verona, who opened CAO Bakery with me, my other founder. And then it got to a point that we were changing the concept a little bit. We're too eager to grow. We were the younger guys in the group, I guess, And so we started pushing more of a cafe concept. We had more breakfasts, more sit down, more seating inside, as you can see in these locations as we were going north, The original Vicky Bakeries were more takeout, more bakery, traditional bakery, croquetas, pastelitos, cakes, and desserts. Like we got more into the food part of it. And then, so it got to a point, the brands were kind of separating in look and feel. So we decided we got my grandfather's blessing, got my father's blessing. We decided to launch CAO in 2018 and convert the 6 Vicky Bakery locations we had into CAO locations.
Oh, okay.
And then from there, now we're at 22 locations, and we got about 6 of them on the way right now. We're going to Orlando. We got 2 in Tampa. We're looking at locations in North Carolina with a group that wants to do 4 or 5 locations in the Charlotte area. So that's hopefully the next project. But we're moving. We're moving. Excited about it.
There's definitely an opportunity. Obviously, dense Cuban population, dense Hispanic population in South Florida. But I know plenty of people that whether they lived in Miami and then they move out, or they're a Cuban somewhere else throughout the country, that they're waiting for something like this, right? So, and a lot of them are even asking themselves, like, do I do it? Right? Yeah. My uncle, like, he lives in Knoxville, and he's always like, dude, I think I'm just gonna open up a Cuban bakery out here because
we're already gonna be heading that way. Tell them to give me a call.
Yeah.
But it's funny because the couple, the wife is from St. Brendan. Okay. So we're all familiar with St. Brendan.
Of course.
She was born and raised here in Miami. She still has family here, comes and visits, and she feels like there's a need there. She's a big part of the community out there in Charlotte, and I guess networks for everybody. And man, she's like, we'll kill it with a Cuban bakery here. That's what they're missing, So as we go north, I was telling you in this location, we're in Hollywood. Man, there's not a lot of competition out here, so we're doing very well in these locations, in Hollandale, in Fort Lauderdale, in Tampa. So I feel like as we go, we're the only Coke in the desert, to say, and we're having very good results.
Yeah, that little Westchester circle, you might have like 20 bakeries within like a 3-mile radius, right? Whereas up here, like in Hollywood, maybe, God knows what the closest bakery is to.
I'm not even sure.
To around here. So imagine there's plenty of us out here. So if we're gonna need a spot, this is the perfect place to kind of come and feel that nostalgia and have your food that you want.
Definitely, and I think people want it. I think people want to try it. Everything Cuban's hot. Even in California, you go to restaurants in California, there's lines outside at La Floradita. Porto's Bakery does over 25-minute locations, a similar concept, but there's only ones out there,
Yeah.
So I think people want a little bit of that Cuban culture, want a little bit of that ethnic influence, as you go into neighborhoods.
Yeah. When you made that transition from Vicky's to starting CAO, what kind of, I guess, did you see that needed change? Like, what was that kind of, vision that you saw, an opportunity that you saw that said, hey, you know what? We've been doing it this way, but maybe we should try to do it this way.
So Cao is our last name, as I was saying. I'm Tony Cao. I did it to honor the family, my grandparents who started Vicky Bakery and my father. But we also came up with an acronym, Cuban American Original, which I'm your first Cuban in my family. I'm the first Cuban American generation that was born here. As I said, my father was born in Cuba. So it's like that Miami flavor. How can we keep the tradition, but kind of spice it up with a little Miami flavor, So we hired Jeremiah Bullfrog. He was a chef a good friend of mine as well, a chef on a couple of those Food Network shows, and all that. And man, he redid our sandwiches, helped us redo our sauces from scratch. We kind of kept that traditional flavor, but it has like that little Cuban American. So our frita has cheese on it. A lot of fritas don't have cheese.
Right.
So, I like my frita with cheese. I'm an American kid,
yeah.
So, but I love that Cuban flavor. So if you try our frita, I think it's one of the best fritas out there. It's amazing. 100% Angus beef. We use good chorizo, good pork. But with the cheese and our homemade shoestring fries and the homemade aioli sauce. So to make our sazon aioli, we use the Goya packs, the Goya sazon packs that you make like arroz con pollo or whatever. And we make the sauce out of that. So it's really keeps the tradition, really keeps the roots of where we're getting our stuff from, Everything's fresh, So you go to Starbucks, you're getting like powdered eggs. Like all our eggs are fried fresh. It's fast casual. So you're getting a fresher experience, I think, when you come here,
Got it. Okay. And what would you say for you guys is like obviously expansion into other states, other regions, maybe where there's not prevalent bakeries, but what's kind of the future and the vision for CAO?
Definitely. I think we want to go up the East Coast. So like I said, we're looking at North Carolina now. I think that's a big jump for us as we're in Tampa and we're already signed in Orlando. We're doing a build out now in Orlando. So it's a big jump, but I feel like it's a jump much needed. I feel like we'll be the first Cuban bakery out of state, kind of like from Miami bakeries,
Got you.
And I feel like it will push us to move faster into Georgia, South Carolina, which we already have interest. We're already talking to some people in those areas. We're really looking for good operators. We're not just like, I have phone calls every day of people that want passive income and they want to invest this and sit back. And I was like, no, man, this is a neighborhood bakery. And at least the first year, it takes a lot.
Yeah, you got to get your hands dirty and be involved.
Knowing how Justin walks in, wants his coffee, and that's how you build the clientele here in these areas. People really feel like a connection of, how's your kids today? John, here's your coffee,
100%.
clarito, and with a little bit of sugar, So as we go growing, that's really important to us that we're part of those communities because I feel like that's where we thrive. As we started growing, me and my partner, we own 12 locations out of the 22. And we got to a point that we had to stop because we were losing that, And we feel like, man, we can't be everywhere in all these spots. And we started seeing like spots like Fort Lauderdale open and be very successful the first couple of months and then kind of like level out, And it's because we couldn't put the time in to be there.
Of course, you can't be everywhere.
Then we made the decision of franchising because these people have skin in the game. They're gonna take care of it like we took care of it,
Right.
So at that point, and we're having good results. It's just a matter of finding the right people that want to be involved in what we're doing.
Yeah, and I guess to piggyback off of that, how do you find the right people when building these franchises, right? Obviously,
it's tough.
On paper they might look, like they qualify, they got the funds, they got the experience, whatever it may be. But to your point, do they have that personal aspect? Do they understand what it means to be a Cuban American?
It's tough, and it's a lot of going with your gut instinct. A lot of times, and having those meetings. I think me and my partner read people very well, and we'll take the first meeting. If we don't feel right, we're not taking the second meeting. And it's not about the money, like I said. It's about building the brand. Like we need to be very strategic and successful with these next few franchises, and we're not gonna be that if we just get whoever to open them.
Right.
So,
yeah. And so what's been for you, right now? How many? So it's been what, about 7 years?
Yep, 2018.
Yeah,
so,
since you started CAO.
Yep.
What's been the biggest challenge for you in the business?
Okay, well, we launched the brand. A year later, we were going through COVID.
True.
A year after that, we were going through inflation. A year after that, we were going through labor shortage. So if we could get through the first 3 years, I could get through anything, you know?
Very fair.
So in that sense, it was tough. It was super hard. We're part of the Miami Made program with the University of Miami, a big fan.
Okay.
We invested a lot of money into launching the brand recognition the first 3 years, and it kind of stunk that we couldn't have people at the games. We were on the scoreboard every game. You see CAO Bakery over there, and it was tough for us to put all that money and then have COVID kind of mess us up, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And now you're on the other side of that.
Yeah. Now we're seeing where obviously like the past 3 years we've passed pre-COVID numbers. Things are great. Inflation is still kind of finicky, but it's getting a lot more stable. You know, we had the problem with eggs a few months ago. Eggs were like $300 a case. We ate all that. We don't pass it to our customers, so it's tough. It's a tough industry. The good part about, I would say, about our franchise and about the way we function and we're able to multiply this with consistency and quality is that our commissary model. So we make everything in Miami Springs at a commissary. We make all the pastries, we make all the bread, we make all the cakes and desserts. We send them to the stores fresh every other day, you know? So at the end of the day, when we had dessert makers in the bakery and you're making a batch of cheesecake, it lasts you for about a week and a half because you're making a batch of cheesecake. And people think since it's not made in the bakery, it's not fresher. No, it's actually fresher because we're making only what we sell for the next day or two,
right,
you know?
Exactly.
And in the warehouse, we're making stuff fresh every day. So the guy who makes cheesecake is making batches every day. And you get only the 2 cheesecakes you need to sell, so they're fresh. Everything's fresh and everything's rotated. You could open up a bakery tomorrow and you don't know how to do anything. We're gonna stock your store and deliver it to you, and you're gonna be able to open. You know.
Yeah.
So
no. I mean,
that's the plus.
I consume CAO on a regular basis.
Thank you.
You know, the one right there on Sunset and 97, and you could tell the freshness from like the bread, the pastries, the meat, like everything. The pork sandwich I've had the egg sandwich from there, the pastelitos, the croquetas, the café. Like everything.
And they all look the same as if you come here in Hollywood. So at the end of the day, it's the same exact person making the one in Hollywood that they're making in Sunset, you know? So, and the pastries are baked fresh every day. The croquetas are fried fresh. So it's really the desserts that you got to send every other day. Of course, yeah. Because these things we send them frozen, you egg wash them, you bake them off. So it's a fresh baked product every day, you know?
Yeah.
But,
and so logistically, right? Like if you were to go to North Carolina, obviously you kind of have the infrastructure here. How do you achieve that in those other locations? So
we're going to eat a lot of that cost right now, sending our refrigerated trucks over there. Eventually, in the next few months, we're already planning maybe Gainesville or Orlando hub.
Okay, got it.
So we're going to produce some of the stuff that's not frozen, some of the fresh stuff over there. Yeah, and we can bounce it off. Okay. Hopefully hit Atlanta soon, South Carolina, and then
Atlanta would be sick. Atlanta's a good market.
It's a real foodie market.
A huge foodie market. It's young. It's vibrant. I mean, they've invested a lot of money into like that Battery District as well, where the baseball stadium is.
Yeah.
Like that would be cool. And do you guys do anything with any of like the sports stadiums? I know you talked a little bit about but any activations inside the stadiums?
So we're doing an activation right now with Marlins Stadium.
Okay.
And I forgot the dates. I'll get back to you on that, but I know it's coming up soon. I believe it's the 15th of May right now. 15, 16, 17. We're doing like 5 days in Marlins Stadium. We're doing pigs in the blanket and the pastry dough, so we're keeping like the MLB, but like mixing it with the Cuban culture.
Nice.
We'll have the Cuban sandwiches, croquetas preparadas out there, our con pollo bites. So that's a little cool activation that we're doing with the Marlins.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we're always involved in sports. Like I said, I'm a big fan, so I love it.
What are your thoughts on the season this year?
Big
expectations.
Big expectations. Every year is big expectations. But
is.
After last year, I think it's even bigger, you know.
And
it's
the
exciting.
thing is, you lose a guy like Cam Ward, you know, that's some big shoes to fill.
I'm excited about their basketball as well, with the new coaches they got in.
Yeah, he's doing good
the new
things
players
there.
they've been recruiting, so super excited. I just got my football season tickets yesterday, actually.
Cool.
So very excited.
We'll see what happens with the U. I'm not a fan, but
oh man,
I grew up.
Meeting's done. No, I'm kidding.
I got the Panthers.
Panthers are kicking butt. They lost yesterday, but they're kicking butt.
Well, Gatos in hockey, but FIU.
Oh, FIU Panthers.
FIU Panthers. Graduated from there, so I grew up an FIU fan too.
My wife's a Panther as well.
Yeah,
that's good. Great school.
Good school. But before we wrap it up, I want to get kind of your thoughts on like what are your top 3 items that if you're going to CAO you got to get. I know you guys do the iced coffee too, which we didn't talk about that.
For sure.
But that's a big little trend going on out there.
So your traditional items, obviously we're known for the pastries, same recipe since 1972 from my grandfather. The croquetas are the same recipe as well. But then we're doing cool stuff that I would recommend you to try. Our arroz con pollo bites. It's my grandma's recipe of arroz con pollo. I add the Heinekens in there and everything, you know, when we're cooking it.
What is that? Is it like,
It's little arroz con pollo bites filled with mozzarella cheese. You get them with the sauce that I was telling you, that sazon aioli sauce or the cilantro sauce. Those things are amazing, mouth-watering. You got the cheese pull when you pull them apart.
God damn, that sounds good.
We started doing the platters now, really good, very reasonable as well. $10.99, you get a plate of food. Churrasco, we have the pechuga de pollo, we have all that. The beans are the same thing. Our beans are made like homemade beans. It's not the canned beans or any of that stuff. So you really enjoy it, you know?
Those arroz con pollo bites sound freaking. My mouth was salivating while you were describing it.
As you go north, you see all the different people, I guess, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not Cuban. As we opened the North Miami Beach, we have Russians, we have Europeans coming from Sunny Isles. In Hollywood here, it's a bunch of different cultures, you know, like so.
Yeah. And
it's great to see that. It's great to see like, okay, like we're moving forward, man. Like, we're being more successful in these areas. As
Absolutely.
Everybody loves it, you know. So
yeah. I mean, there's an opportunity. Obviously, you have your locals, but you have so much tourism that comes in here, and there's an opportunity for people to immerse themselves in the Miami experience. Why not make that connection that CAO is like? It's almost like a tourist destination, essentially.
For sure. Share the Cuban American love.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all your success, and we look forward to seeing it in some more states soon. That way, when we're traveling, we can stop by a CAO.
Awesome. Cool. Well, stay tranquilo.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.